Is there a problem? And if there is, what is the problem with shaving off the top by taxing the rich and then delivering that back through public goods like free bus rides, healthcare, groceries? I think we got a little bit too in the weeds on grocery stores and locations.
Sure.
And
there is
like that.
no problem
If
with
we could
that
just
in
please-
principle.
Yeah,
There's no problem with that in
Please discuss
principle.
the idea of
the
taxing
execution of
people
it.
that make over $1 million, a little bit more, and then driving that down to decrease the disparity between rich and poor.
All right, so 2 points.
Why does that not work?
2 points.
Or does it work?
Yeah, first point is we already do that, right? Like the top 10% pay over 50% of the country's taxes.
What percentage of tax in New York?
What would you say what would you say when there are many that actually don't pay their fair share?
Yeah, right. Like
so let's say
There
that
are so many that end up paying like 5% tax.
The folks who own assets, not income, etc.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, we have ways to tax like profits off of assets. Like that happens, and that's why the top 10% pay over 50%.
But your point is
of
the
the
main
bill.
from income perspective, we
So
do tax
we
these
do it now.
people
It's
highly.
worse than that in New York.
Okay, but
in New York,
I agree.
1% pay like 40% of the tax.
Okay, so we
Crazy.
do that already, right? And then that leads to the second point, which is when you take money through this like efficient system and you take it out and then you put it through this like just sickening inefficient system where $1 goes in and maybe like 8 cents actually gets put it to what you want, because there's levels of bureaucracy and complications and process and everyone getting their hand, nonprofits, consultants advising on where the money should go, everyone grabbing their hands in there. And in the nonprofit world, you talk about what percentage goes to programs. If I'm going to donate $100 to you, I need to see your stat. And they'll say like 93% goes to programs. Like a lot of the food shelter ones do that. And that's great, right? You put in $100, you know that 93 cents is going to go towards what you want, putting foods in people's mouths.
Costs.
7% is going to be administrative costs. Now, we do this already, and we don't have the result we like, which proves the point that when you take the money out and you put it through like a government bureaucratic system, you don't get like 93% going to the program that you want. Maybe it's 10%. And that's the problem.
The inefficiency.
The
It's an
inefficiency.
inefficiency problem.
Right, because like I agree with you. If you're like,
Because it
hey, can I-
sounds good and looks good in principle.
I think it's actually right in
I know where
principle.
it's right in principle.
It's right in
Yeah,
principle.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
yes, let's take another
course.
0.1% off of everyone making over $2 million a year and provide free.
Completely
Free bus
makes
fare.
sense
Right.
at face value.
Yeah.
But when you look at the second and third order effects, in like when it comes down to it, how it works out doesn't end up creating positive expected value. What are you doing over there?
Steven's so excited.
What is it? Yeah, you got to let something
I
out.
need to
or-
read these
Well, what's
comments.
that?
Just, like, give me a moment. I need to
Yeah.
read these comments.
No.
We're gonna
Okay,
cover-
no. I think
Like,
we're.
no
I
leg
think,
day?
I
just
kind of
I think
agree
we're
with these
facing
people
criticism in a
on
po- in a-
some level. They're
No.
just missing the fucking ball.
No,
like
that's what I'm saying. I think it's very fair criticism. So
of course it's fair criticism, but these people are like generally like, oh, the problem is like all the capitalists are taking all the fucking money. Actually, the problem is like the Fed, right? The problem is way upstream. The problem is the Fed. They're printing money. They're doing all this fucking shit to obfuscate the money supply, inflating capital assets, all this shit. And then people are like, oh no, they're just, the rich people are taking all the money. And then they think if they just take money from the rich people and feed it through the government, which just takes the money and incinerates it, that the poor people are going to get rich and be better off.
Right.
Even though like we've done like the war on poverty for like 60 fucking years and there's like no reduction in poverty. Like it's like the definition of insanity. It's like, no, if we just give more money to the government, then everything will get better, instead of like, maybe you should dismantle some aspects of the government. Right. Like I totally agree that you need to like level the playing field.
Right.
I totally agree.
Right.
The way to level the playing field isn't to give the government more money and more power to further like misuse resources and to further warp economic incentives. You're going to end up in a situation eventually where the 1% of the tax base that funds the entire city, if like 25% of the 1% leaves, the whole city is fucked. And then it collapses upon itself like fucking Gotham.
But I think you can make
And it's over.
I think you make a really good argument that they won't leave.
Okay,
Because
so
for your other argument that they're generally unaffected.
I looked at the data on this and like I was actually surprised to see that when you tax rich people, they largely actually don't leave.
They don't leave.
Yeah, because to them it's a tax on their zip
Yes,
code.
which
That's why you pay the tax to live in San Diego.
But this is why. But this is why it's toxic. It's logical to tax the rich people because they won't leave, but it just further fuels the problem of the government
Yeah,
taking and
yeah.
incinerating money, and eventually it does come to a head and explode. But like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, like if Mamdani wins, no rich people are going to leave, and they'll probably take more money in. They probably will, but they will put
It'll
it towards
take years,
programs.
just like it did in San Francisco, and then eventually companies and startups start saying maybe we need to start our companies in Florida.
Well, they don't
and
light every
Texas.
dollar on fire. So,
Yeah, like only like 75% of
yeah,
the dollars
75%
on
of
fire.
the dollars they light on fire. So with 25 cents of every dollar, they actually put it to a good use, like a free bus system, and that's pretty cool. And people like that. From
But free bus systems aren't like, okay. So this is similar to like crypto. You know how in crypto they like have like they charge like a tiny amount in like even in the free chain to prevent spam.
Yes.
It's the same thing on the bus. Like when you make the bus completely free, as opposed
Guys,
to like
it's
a quarter,
fucking Econ 101. You know,
like you
There's
actually
no
create
free lunch.
There's no free lunch. We know that. But like even having like a minimal bus fare does like wonders. Like a tiny
Right,
bus fare
yeah.
it prevents a ton of bus spam.
Yeah.
It provides like it's like 650 million to run like free buses. That's like a lot. It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, New York's a wealthy city, but like you $1 billion here, $1 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about
But even more
real
I-
money.
I get what you're saying. Even more importantly than that, even if you charge a quarter, it doesn't even change the cost of running the buses that much. It changes by quarter. But like in
People make different decisions,
Yeah, in-
even just having to pay.
in
a quarter.
practical world, like you get less malarkey on the bus system.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Less
Even just charging
malarkey.
people a quarter. Thank you.
Men of a certain
Thank
age.
you for putting that in the way that the
Well, dude, I mean, I lived in
kids
San
can-
Francisco. I rode the bus. Like people ride the bus in SF because there's no like public transit really. So you ride the bus, and there's a lot of fucking malarkey on there. It's it's insane.
Is it a safety issue?
I used to take the bus. You had to take the bus in SF
Dude,
before Uber.
I actually started walking because it took about the same amount of time, and SF is pretty small.
Well, SF doesn't have public transportation other than the bus.
Right. So if you're gonna walk like 4 miles, like it might take 15 extra minutes to walk,
Yeah,
and you don't deal with any of the bullshit.
yeah, yeah. We used to,
The bullshit was insane.
I mean, look,
I used to get thrown up on.
Dude,
Dude, it was wild.
the Dirty 30.
What's the dirty 30? What's the dirty 30?
Ran through
It was one of the
Chinatown.
lines. Yeah,
Around through Chinatown.
used to get so fucking wild.
No, the
So
story
wild.
was like this is like an urban legend, but the story was a Chinese woman was trying to come on the Dirty 30 with live chickens,
Okay.
and they're like, "Ma'am, you're not allowed to have live animals on the bus." And she goes,
Snaps the head off.
it's hardcore.
Hey, she's a problem solver. I like her.
Oh shit. I mean, look, I guess to wrap this, like, I don't care if Zoran wins in New York. I'm all for a system. Like, I love this system where every city gets to elect their own little dictator to do anything they want.
yeah.
As long as you like allow people to flow between cities, I love that shit. Just run every city, just fast run it to the logical extreme of the system you want to implement, and then like live out
"Yeah, we'll see."
the results of that.
So
If people leave, good. That means that your system sucks.
I know, but the stakes go
stakes
Nick.
are high.
I don't think the stakes are that high.
No, the
I
stakes
don't
are
think they're that high.
extremely
Why?
high for,
People just move to Florida
For New
It'll be
York?
fine.
so the stakes are extremely
just
high.
move.
Hold on, the stakes are extremely high for places like San Francisco, LA, New York, because
It's the best
these
city in the world.
Yeah, like people don't want to see them go in the wrong direction. So it's like, and the people that live there don't necessarily ever want to leave. These are, I mean, New Yorkers are New Yorkers for life. I lived in New York for 2 years. Once you get past year 2, you're in for life. So like you have to make a decision after year 2 or year 3. Are you leaving or are you staying? And once you stay, that's your home. And so like no one wants to see their home fall apart. So like, yes, maybe they would go through a few years of like, okay, this might work out. And then eventually it starts to get really difficult and fall apart. But you don't want to see a city like New York fall apart. The same way, you know, San Francisco is much more of a boom or bust city, right? Way more than New York. Like New York does boom or bust as well, for sure. It had a difficult time during COVID. But San Francisco goes through these huge boom or bust waves, and it's extremely detrimental to all of humanity when San Francisco
I just
falls
feel like
apart.
Kind of, but like I actually genuinely feel like most of San Francisco would not give a fuck if all the tech bros just left. I actually don't think they would care.
But
I think they
that's-
would be happy.
That's
I
San
think they would be
Francisco you're referring
happy.
to as like what, the natives, like which there's like
That's-
I think they would be
5% of
happy.
them.
So who
The-
cares?
the
Like
San
those people go
Francisco-
elsewhere to where they're welcome. The people who are in the city get what they want.
that San Francisco
They get
you're
their
referring
city
to
back?
doesn't exist
It
anymore.
doesn't exist. Yeah,
I think the
Doesn't
vast
exist.
majority of San Francisco is just not those people, right?
No, it's the majority.
No, it is the
It's
majority.
The majority of people is tech bros in
Yeah.
San Francisco.
And the
Yeah.
ancillaries, like
Yeah.
the
Evolved, dude.
Yeah,
I don't
think so.
There is the hippie that exists
I don't think
that
so.
has been there for generations.
There's a huge population
Bro,
in
I
San Francisco.
lived there through
Yeah,
the
for like 8
evolution.
years.
I think you
man.
guys are in a bubble.
No.
No,
think you're in a
was
bubble.
In the bubble. Yeah.
I think a
of the
tiny
city.
percentage of these cities is these
No,
people
but
that we
they
like.
lived in the city.
hang
They're
out
not even
with.
talking about Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
They're just talking about the city
Talk
of
about
San Francisco.
Literally, we have a deep pulse.
Okay.
on
Not that
this.
big.
Anyway,
I could be wrong.
It's
could be
does
wrong.
anyone know
I
how
think
long?
we met half that city.
How long are
7 by
mayor
7.
terms? 4 years?
Mayor terms? I think they're 4.
Okay, so one interesting about this is I firmly believe that the unintended consequences, the second order, third order effects that we talked about will definitely happen, and they will most definitely hurt the people that these policies are intended to help. But it may take 2, 3, maybe 4. What if 4.5, 5 years to actually show? So the kid could go on a hot streak, right? Like by the
He
time he
goes-
implements these
oh,
policies, he's year 1, year 2 in. You don't see the effects of them,
And the negative ramifications get attributed to the next guy, perhaps.
or the guy before, right? Like the guy before, and then he's on a hot streak, and then in New York, he potentially can get reelected, and then you see it pop up in other cities. So,
Yep.
being so quick to be like, fine, let this case study run. We'll see what happens. Like, I wouldn't be surprised in the first few years where like people are like absolutely just stoked.
Enthralled.